The Mediterranean sun had turned brutal by noon, the kind of heat that made the cobblestones shimmer and sent tourists scrambling for shade. I wiped the sweat from my forehead with the back of my hand, careful not to touch my face with fingers that smelled of garlic and olive oil. The scent clung to everything, my skin, my hair, the faded apron tied around my waist. It was the smell of survival, of 12-hour shifts at Bella Vista, of tips that barely covered rent in the cramped apartment I shared with 3 other girls. "Table 7 needs water," Marco barked from behind the bar, his voice sharp with impatience. I grabbed the pitcher, its condensation cool against my palm, and wove through the maze of tables scattered across the restaurant's terrace. Bella Vista wasn't fancy. Peeling paint on the shutters, mismatched chairs, checkered tablecloths that had seen better days. But it had a view of the harbor that tourists loved. That view was the only reason we stayed busy, the only reason I could afford to eat most days. My feet ached in the cheap canvas shoes I'd bought at the market. 3 months in Santorini, and I still hadn't adjusted to the constant standing, the endless walking, the weight of trays laden with plates of moussaka and Greek salad. But I couldn't complain. This job, this island, this life, it was temporary. It had to be. Back home in Ohio, I'd left behind student debt, a mother who barely noticed when I left, and a future that felt like a prison sentence. Here, at least the prison had a view. I filled the glasses at table 7, smiling automatically at the middle-aged couple who didn't look up from their phones. The smile was practiced, empty, the same one I'd worn yesterday and would wear tomorrow. It didn't reach my eyes anymore. That's when I saw him. He sat alone at table 12, the corner table that caught the best breeze from the harbor. I hadn't seen him arrive, hadn't heard Marco seat him, but there he was, and suddenly the air felt different. Heavier. Charged with something I couldn't name. He wore all black despite the heat. Black shirt with the sleeves rolled to his elbows, revealing forearms that spoke of controlled strength. Black sunglasses that hid his eyes, but somehow made his attention more intense. His dark hair was perfectly styled, not a strand out of place despite the wind that played with the edges of the umbrellas. He looked like he'd stepped out of a cologne advertisement. Sharp jawline, olive skin, the kind of face that made you forget to breathe. A tourist, I told myself. Just another wealthy tourist, but something felt wrong, or maybe right. Too right. He didn't fidget like other customers, didn't check his phone every 30 seconds, or crane his neck to see the view. He simply sat there, still as a predator, and even though I couldn't see his eyes behind those dark lenses, I knew he was watching me. The pitcher trembled slightly in my hand. I set it down on table 7 with more force than intended, water sloshing over the rim. "Careful," the man at table 7 muttered. I mumbled an apology and turned away, my heart beating faster than it should. It was just the heat, I told myself. Just dehydration. Just exhaustion from another day in paradise that felt more like purgatory. You, the new girl. The voice came from behind me, smooth and dark as espresso, carrying an accent I couldn't quite place. Italian? Greek? Something else entirely? It wrapped around me like silk, and I froze mid-step. I turned slowly. He'd removed his sunglasses, and the impact of his gaze hit me like a physical force. His eyes were the color of strong coffee, almost black, and they held an intelligence that made me feel transparent. Exposed. Like he could see every secret I'd tried to bury, every mistake I'd made, every desperate hope I'd clung to in the middle of sleepless nights. Yes? My voice came out smaller than I intended. Water. He gestured to his empty glass with one hand. Long fingers, I noticed, a heavy watch on his wrist that probably cost more than I'd earn in a year. And then perhaps you could recommend something. You work here, yes? Yes, of course. I grabbed a menu from the nearest table, my hands unsteady. The moussaka is popular, and the seafood pasta. I didn't ask what's popular. He leaned back in his chair, completely at ease, while I felt like my bones might vibrate out of my skin. I asked what you recommend. The distinction felt important somehow. Dangerous. The lamb, I said finally. Chef makes it with his grandmother's recipe, slow roasted with rosemary and lemon. It's It's special. Something flickered across his face. Amusement? Approval? It vanished too quickly to tell. Then I'll have that. He handed the menu back, and our fingers brushed. The contact lasted less than a second, but I felt it everywhere. A spark of heat that had nothing to do with the Mediterranean sun. And wine. Something red. You choose. I'm not really supposed to. I'm asking you to choose. His tone didn't change. Still smooth. Still polite. But suddenly it felt less like a request, and more like a command. Unless you'd prefer I speak to your manager about the quality of service. My stomach dropped. I couldn't afford to lose this job. Couldn't afford Marco's anger or the risk of being fired. Tourist season would end soon, and positions were already scarce. The aggiorgitico, I said quickly. It pairs well with lamb. Perfect. He smiled, and the world tilted slightly. It wasn't a friendly smile, too knowing, too intimate, like we were sharing a secret I didn't know we had. What's your name? Emma. The lie came automatically. My real name was Emily, but I'd been using Emma since I arrived. It felt safer somehow, like I could be someone different here, someone who didn't carry the weight of everything she'd left behind. Emma, he repeated, tasting the syllables. Your order will be ready soon, I interrupted, suddenly desperate to escape the intensity of his attention. I'll bring your wine. I turned and walked away before he could respond, feeling his gaze on my back like a brand. My hands were shaking when I reached the bar, and Marco noticed. You okay? He frowned, already reaching for a bottle. You look pale. Fine, I lied. Just hot. Table 12 wants aggiorgitico. Marco's eyebrows rose. He asked for that specifically? I recommended it. Huh. Marco pulled the bottle from the wine rack, studying it. Big spender, that one. Came in a black Mercedes with a driver. Didn't even look at the prices on the menu. A driver. Of course he had a driver. Men who looked like that, who wore watches that cost more than my yearly salary, who commanded attention just by existing. They didn't drive themselves. I took the wine and a glass back to table 12, my pulse racing. He was on his phone now, speaking in rapid Italian that I couldn't follow. His voice had changed, harder, colder, all business. When he saw me approaching, he said something sharp and ended the call. Your wine. I set the glass down carefully, began to pour. The red liquid caught the light, deep as blood. You're nervous. It wasn't a question. No, Your hands are shaking. I stopped pouring, set the bottle down. I'm fine. You're lying. He picked up the glass, swirled the wine, watching it instead of me. Why? I'm not. This is inappropriate. I should get back to work. Sit. I can't. Sit, he repeated. And this time there was steel beneath the silk of his voice. Just for a moment. You look like you might fall over. He wasn't wrong. The heat, the exhaustion, the strange electricity that seemed to pulse from him. It was all too much. I glanced back at the restaurant. Marco was busy with other customers. No one was watching. I sat on the edge of the chair across from him, perched like a bird ready to flee. Better. He sipped his wine, made a small sound of approval. Good choice. You have good taste. Thank you. My throat felt dry, but I really should. How long have you been in Santorini? 3 months. And before that? America, Ohio. Why was I telling him this? Why couldn't I seem to remember how to keep my mouth shut? Far from home. Something in his voice had shifted again, gone softer. Running from something or running to something. The question hit too close. I stood abruptly, the chair scraping against stone. I need to check on your food. Emma. The way he said my name, my fake name, made it sound like a caress in a cage all at once. Don't run from me. I'm not running. I'm working. Of course. He inclined his head, a gesture that somehow felt like a king dismissing a subject. Go, but you'll be back. It sounded like a promise, or a threat. I fled to the kitchen, my heart hammering. What was wrong with me? He was just a tourist, just another wealthy man passing through, someone who'd be gone tomorrow or the next day. someone I'd never see again. But when I brought out his lamb 20 minutes later, perfectly plated with roasted vegetables and that rosemary lemon sauce that made my mouth water, he was still watching me with those dark, knowing eyes. "Sit with me while I eat," he said. "I can't. There are other customers. They can wait. My boss will be compensated for your time." He pulled out his wallet, leather, expensive, and laid several bills on the table. Euros. A lot of them. More than I'd make in a week. "Sit." I sat. He cut into the lamb with precise movements, everything about him controlled and deliberate. "Tell me about Ohio." "There's nothing to tell. Everyone has a story, Emma. What's yours?" The question escaped before I could stop it. Bold and stupid and dangerous. He smiled again, that same unsettling smile. "You first." So I told him. Not everything. Not the real reasons I'd left. Not the shame of my mother's indifference or the suffocating weight of a future that felt predetermined. But I told him about the small town, about wanting more, about ending up here washing dishes and serving tourists who barely saw me. He listened like my words mattered, like I mattered. "And you?" I asked when I finished. "What brings you to Santorini?" "Business." He took another bite of lamb, savored it. "You were right about this." "It's excellent." "What kind of business?" "The kind that requires discretion." A non-answer. I should have left it alone, should have recognized the warning in his tone. But something reckless was waking up inside me, something that had been asleep for too long. "You're very mysterious," I said, attempting lightness. "And you're very curious." He set down his fork, leaned forward. "Curiosity can be dangerous, Emma." Is that a threat? A warning? The air between us crackled with tension. I should have been afraid. Every instinct should have been screaming at me to walk away, to put distance between myself and this man who radiated danger like heat from asphalt. Instead, I leaned forward too, closing the space between us by inches. "What if I'm not scared?" His eyes darkened. "You should be." "Why?" The word came out breathy, almost a whisper. What was I doing? This wasn't me. I didn't flirt with dangerous strangers, didn't play with fire. But something about him pulled at me, made me want to shed my careful caution like an old skin. He reached across the table, his hand moving slowly enough that I could have pulled back, should have pulled back, but I stayed frozen as his fingers brushed my wrist, settled on my pulse point, his thumb pressed gently against the racing beat of my heart made visible. "Because you're trembling," he said softly. "Because your pulse is racing. Because you know, somewhere deep down, that I'm not what I seem. Then what are you?" His grip tightened fractionally. Not enough to hurt, but enough to remind me how easily he could. "Someone you should stay away from." "But you won't let me." I don't know where the words came from, this newfound boldness. "Will you?" Something flashed across his face. Surprise, heat, a hunger that made my stomach flip. "Careful, Emma." "Why?" "Because if you tease me again," he leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper that somehow felt more intimate than a shout. "I might forget to be a gentleman." My breath caught. This was insane. Reckless. Stupid. I pulled my hand back, stood up so fast the chair wobbled. "Your food is getting cold. Emma, enjoy your meal." I walked away on shaking legs, didn't look back even though I felt his gaze following me across the terrace. Marco caught my arm as I passed the bar. "What the hell was that?" he hissed. "You can't just sit with customers," he insisted. He paid for my time. I showed him the bills still clutched in my hand. "See?" Marco's eyes widened at the amount. "Cristo, what did he want?" "Just to talk. Men like that don't pay that much just to talk, Emma." He looked past me to table 12, and something in his expression shifted. Fear? Respect. "Be careful with that one." "Why? Who is he?" "I don't know. But I know the type." "That watch he's wearing? That car outside? Men with that much money in this part of the world? Marco shook his head. Just be careful. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur. I avoided table 12, sent another server to clear his plates and bring him espresso, but I felt him watching me the entire time. A constant weight of attention that made my skin prickle with awareness. When he finally left, he placed another stack of bills on the table, a tip that was obscene in its generosity, and walked out without looking back. Through the window, I watched him slide into the back of that black Mercedes. A man in a dark suit opened the door for him, someone I hadn't noticed before, a driver, or maybe security. Just be careful with that one. I cleaned his table with trembling hands, pocketed the tip that would pay my rent for the month, and told myself I'd never see him again. I was wrong. I didn't sleep that night. The apartment was stifling, the single fan doing nothing but pushing hot air from one corner to another. My roommates, Sophia from Germany, Marie from France, and Kiki from Australia, were all out, probably at one of the beach clubs that stayed open until dawn. I lay in my narrow bed, staring at the water-stained ceiling, replaying every moment of the afternoon. Because if you tease me again, I might forget to be a gentleman. What had I been thinking? Flirting with a stranger who radiated danger like cologne, who had a driver, and wore a watch worth more than everything I owned combined. Marco's warning echoed in my mind. Men like that don't pay that much just to talk. But he had paid, and he had listened. For 20 minutes, he'd made me feel like I was the only person in the world, like my small-town stories and desperate dreams actually mattered to someone. I touched my wrist where his fingers had pressed against my pulse, and heat flooded through me at the memory. This was ridiculous. I was being ridiculous. He was probably already on a yacht somewhere, surrounded by women who knew how to handle men like him, women who wore designer clothes and spoke 3 languages and didn't smell like garlic at the end of the day. I finally fell asleep around 4 a.m., and when my alarm screamed at 6, I wanted to throw it against the wall. The morning shift started with the breakfast crowd, mostly hotel guests looking for authentic Greek yogurt and strong coffee before their island tours. I moved through the routine on autopilot, my body going through the motions while my mind remained stubbornly fixed on dark eyes and dangerous smiles. Emma! Marco's voice cut through my daze. Table for 1, terrace. I grabbed a menu and headed out, welcoming the morning breeze that came off the harbor. The sun was gentler now, golden instead of brutal, painting the white buildings in shades of honey and cream. This was the Santorini the tourists came for, the postcard version. I stopped dead. He sat at the same table as yesterday. Table 12. Same black clothing, same perfect posture, same air of controlled power that made everyone else on the terrace look somehow less real, less vivid. Our eyes met across the space, and his mouth curved into a smile that made my stomach drop. No. The word came out as a whisper. This couldn't be happening. Tourists didn't come back. They ate once, tipped well if you were lucky, and disappeared into the endless stream of faces that blurred together after a while. But he wasn't moving, wasn't leaving, was looking at me like he'd been waiting. My feet carried me forward against my better judgment. Good morning, Emma. He said it like a greeting and a question and a promise all at once. I was hoping you'd be working today. Most tourists don't come back to the same restaurant twice. I set the menu down with more force than necessary, a small act of defiance. I'm not most tourists. He didn't touch the menu. Sit with me. It's the breakfast rush. I can't... Please. The please surprised me. Yesterday he'd commanded, expected obedience. Today he was asking, and somehow that felt more dangerous. I glanced back at the restaurant. Marco was watching, his expression unreadable. He gave a small nod. Permission. Or maybe a warning. I sat. You didn't sleep. He stated it as fact, not question, and I wondered what he saw in my face, the dark circles I'd tried to hide with concealer, the exhaustion that made my bones feel heavy. How would you know? You have shadows under your eyes. Your hands are shaking more than yesterday. And you're holding yourself very carefully, like someone who's running on empty but can't afford to stop. The accuracy of his observation made me uncomfortable. I sleep fine. Liar. But he said it gently, almost fondly. Were you thinking about me? The arrogance of it should have made me angry. Instead, heat flooded my cheeks. "You're very sure of yourself. That's not an answer. What do you want?" I asked, letting frustration sharpen my voice. "Why are you here? Why did you come back?" He leaned forward, elbows on the table, and the morning light caught the angles of his face. God, he was beautiful, dangerously, impossibly beautiful. "I came back for you." My heart stuttered. "You don't know me." "I know enough." His gaze traveled over my face like a physical touch. "I know you're running from something. I know you're scared of your own shadow, but yesterday you looked at me like you wanted to burn. I know you taste like courage and desperation in equal measure. I couldn't breathe properly. "That's insane. You can't just have breakfast with me." He cut through my protest, not as a server, as a guest. "When do you finish your shift?" 2:00, but I'll come back at 2. He stood, pulling out his wallet again, but this time I found my voice. "Stop." The word came out sharper than intended. "Stop paying me. Stop throwing money around like it solves everything." He paused, and for the first time, I saw something like approval in his eyes. "You don't want my money? What did I want? I didn't even know anymore. I want you to stop playing games. If this is some kind of bet, some rich man's boredom, it's not." He moved around the table so fast I didn't have time to react. Suddenly he was there, close enough that I could smell him, sandalwood and something darker. Something that made my pulse race. "This is not a game, Emma, and I don't play with things I intend to keep." "Keep?" The word came out strangled. "I'm not a thing." "No." His hand came up, fingers brushing my cheek with a gentleness that contradicted everything else about him. "You're not. You're the first real thing I've seen in a very long time, and I protect what's mine. I'm not yours. Not yet." He stepped back, leaving me cold despite the morning heat. 2:00. "Wear something comfortable. I'm taking you away from here for a few hours." I didn't agree. "You will." He was already walking away, moving with the fluid grace of a predator. "Because you're as curious about me as I am about you, and because you're tired of being invisible." He was right, and I hated him for it. The rest of the morning dragged and flew simultaneously. I dropped a tray, something I never did, and spilled coffee on my apron. Marco finally pulled me aside during the lunch rush. "What's going on with you and Table 12? "Nothing. He's just what? Just a rich tourist who's come back 2 days in a row to stare at you like you're the only person alive?" Marco's eyes were worried. "Emma, I like you. You're a good worker. But men like that, they're not good for girls like you." "Girls like me?" I bristled at the phrase. "Girls who have no one to protect them. No family here, no connections." He gripped my shoulder, his touch fatherly. "I've lived on this island my whole life. I've seen men like him before. They take what they want and leave destruction behind. Maybe I want to be taken." The words escaped before I could stop them, and Marco's face paled. "Madonna, you're already in too deep. I'm fine. It's fine. It's just breakfast. It's never just anything with men like that." But he let me go, shaking his head. "Be careful, Piccola. Please." At 1:45, I changed out of my uniform in the cramped bathroom, pulling on the only decent dress I owned, a simple sundress in pale blue that I'd bought at a market stall. My hands shook as I applied mascara, as I tied my hair back, as I stared at my reflection and wondered what the hell I was doing. "You're tired of being invisible." He'd seen right through me. Somehow, in the space of 2 brief encounters, this stranger had understood me better than people I'd known for years. I walked out of the restaurant at precisely 2:00, and he was there, leaning against that black Mercedes, looking like every dangerous fantasy I'd ever had, and been too afraid to acknowledge. The driver stood nearby, a huge man in a black suit who watched the street with the alertness of a trained guard. Security. Marco had been right. "You came." He straightened, and something in his expression softened. Relief. Had he actually thought I wouldn't show? "I'm here." I clutched my small purse like a lifeline. "Where are we going?" "Somewhere you can breathe." He opened the back door of the Mercedes himself. a gesture the driver seemed surprised by. "Trust me. I don't even know your name." "Dante." He said it like it meant something, like I should recognize it. "Dante Cavalli, Italian." Of course he was Italian. "Well, Dante Cavalli, if you murder me, my roommates will probably notice I'm missing, eventually." His laugh was unexpected, genuine and warm, and entirely at odds with the dangerous air he carried. "I'm not going to murder you, Emma. I'm going to feed you and let you ask all those questions I can see burning behind your eyes." The interior of the Mercedes was cool, leather seats so soft they felt like butter. I sank into them as Dante slid in beside me, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. The driver got in without a word, and we pulled smoothly into traffic. "Where are we going?" I asked again. "My villa. I've had lunch prepared." Alarm bells should have been ringing. Going to a strange man's house, alone, in a foreign country. It was every warning your mother gave you, every horror story you heard on the news. But I didn't tell him to stop, didn't ask to be taken back. The drive took 20 minutes, winding up through narrow streets away from the tourist areas, into the hills where the truly wealthy stayed. The villa appeared suddenly, white stone and blue shutters, perched on a cliff with a view of the caldera that stole my breath. "This is yours?" I breathed. "One of mine." He said it casually, like owning multiple villas was normal. "I have properties in several places." The driver, whose name I still didn't know, opened my door, his face expressionless. But I caught the way his eyes swept the area before letting me exit, the way his hand hovered near his jacket, definitely security. Inside, the villa was all white marble and expensive minimalism. Floor-to-ceiling windows showcased that impossible view. A table had been set on the terrace. White linens, crystal glasses, covered silver dishes that probably contained food I couldn't pronounce. "This is..." I turned in a slow circle, trying to process the absurdity of my situation. Yesterday I'd been invisible, serving tables to people who didn't see me. Today I was in a clifftop villa with a man who looked at me like I was precious. "This is insane. Sit." Dante pulled out a chair for me, and I obeyed without thinking. He sat across from me, began uncovering dishes: Greek meze, tzatziki, dolmades, grilled octopus, fresh bread that steamed when he broke it. "Eat. You barely touched anything this morning. You were watching me that closely? I watch everything about you closely." He poured wine, white this time, pale gold in the afternoon light. "You favor your left foot. Your right ankle hurts. Those shoes you wear are cheap and don't fit properly." I stared at him. That's creepy. That's attention." He met my gaze steadily. "When was the last time someone paid attention to you, Emma? Really looked at you and saw you?" The question hit like a punch. I reached for my wine glass, needing something to do with my hands. "Why are you doing this?" "Because yesterday, for 20 minutes, you made me feel human again." He said it simply, without drama. "Do you have any idea how rare that is? How precious? I don't understand. You're..." I gestured at the villa, at him, at everything. "You have everything. Money, power, looks. You could have anyone. I don't want anyone." His voice dropped, went rough. "I want you." The words hung between us, heavy with meaning I didn't fully understand. Want, such a simple word, such a dangerous one. "You don't know me," I repeated, but it sounded weaker this time. "Then let me." He leaned forward, intense. "Let me know you. Every broken piece, every scared thought, every dream you're too afraid to voice. Let me see all of it." "Why?" My voice cracked. "Why me?" "Because you looked at me like I was dangerous and leaned in anyway. Because you're scared of your own shadow, but yesterday you challenged me. Because..." He stopped, jaw tightening. "Because when I touch you, you tremble. And I want to know if it's fear or something else." His hand crossed the table, palm up. An offering. A question. I stared at it. At those long fingers, at the power coiled in his wrist, at the watch that probably cost more than my life. Every logical part of my brain screamed at me to leave, to run, to protect myself from whatever this was. I placed my hand in his. His fingers closed around mine, warm and sure, and his thumb traced circles on my palm that made my breath catch. "There," he murmured. "That's not fear." "How do you know?" "Because fear doesn't make you lean closer. It doesn't make your pupils dilate or your lips part." His gaze dropped to my mouth. "It doesn't make you look at me like you want to be devoured. Dante, eat first." He released my hand with visible reluctance. "Then I'll answer your questions, all of them." And so I ate, and the food was perfect, fresh and bright, and nothing like the leftover scraps I usually survived on. And he watched me the entire time with those dark, knowing eyes. "Tell me what you do," I said finally, setting down my fork. "Your business, the kind that requires discretion." "I manage interests," careful words, diplomatic. "That's not an answer. It's the only answer I can give right now." He refilled my wine glass. "There are things about my life that are complicated. Dangerous, even. I don't want to pull you into that world, but you already are." I held his gaze. "Aren't you? By bringing me here, by—" I struggled to name what this was, by whatever this is. "Yes." No hesitation. No pretty lies. "Yes, Emma, I am. And I should stop. I should pay you for your trouble, send you home, never contact you again. But you won't." "No." The word came out rough. "I won't. Because I've spent 15 years building walls, and you walked through them in 20 minutes. Because I've forgotten what it feels like to want something other than power and revenge. Because—" He stood abruptly, moved to the edge of the terrace, his back to me. "Because I'm a selfish bastard who takes what he wants. I should have been scared. Should have seen the red flags waving frantically. Instead, I stood and walked to him, my bare feet silent on the warm stone. What if I want to be taken?" I whispered. He turned so fast I gasped. Suddenly his hands were on my waist, pulling me close, and I could feel the tension vibrating through him. "Don't say things like that unless you mean them." "Maybe I do mean them. Emma." My name was a warning. "If I start this, I won't stop. I won't be able to. Do you understand? I understand that I've been sleepwalking through my life for months, maybe years. I understand that you make me feel awake." I placed my hands on his chest, felt his heart racing beneath my palms. "I understand that I'm tired of being careful." For a long moment, he just looked at me. Then his hand came up, cupped my face with a gentleness that made tears prick at my eyes. "If you tease me again," he said softly, echoing yesterday's warning, "there won't be any going back. I'll keep you, Emma. I'll bind you to me in ways you can't even imagine. And I won't let you go. Promise?" The word escaped as barely a breath. Something savage and hungry flashed across his face. "You have no idea what you're asking for." "Then show me." He kissed me. It wasn't gentle, wasn't sweet or tentative or any of the things a first kiss should be. It was claiming, possessive, his mouth on mine like he was trying to devour me whole. His fingers tightened on my waist, pulling me flush against him, and I gasped at the contact. He took advantage, deepening the kiss until I couldn't think, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything but feel. When he finally pulled back, we were both shaking. "Christo," he breathed. "You taste like—" His phone rang, shattering the moment. He ignored it, but it rang again. And again. "Answer it," I whispered. He pulled the phone from his pocket with a vicious curse, and his expression changed as he looked at the screen, went hard, cold, dangerous. "I have to take this." He stepped away, and his voice when he answered was nothing like the voice he'd used with me. It was ice and authority, and barely contained violence. "What?" I couldn't understand the rapid Italian that followed, but I understood the tone. Business. The kind that required discretion. The kind that made his driver carry a gun. He ended the call and turned back to me, and I saw the war on his face, between what he wanted and what he had to do. "I have to go." Regret roughened his voice. "Something's come up that requires my immediate attention." "Of course." I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly cold despite the heat. "I should get back anyway. Marco will drive you home." He crossed to me in 2 long strides, gripped my shoulders. I'm not leaving because I want to. Do you understand? You barely know me. You don't owe me explanations. Don't. His fingers tightened. Don't diminish this. What just happened? That was real. You are real. And I need you to wait for me. Wait for what? For me to come back. For me to finish what we started. He pressed his forehead to mine. Promise me you won't run. Promise me you'll be at the restaurant tomorrow. Dante. Promise me, Emma. I promise. The words felt like sealing my fate. He kissed me again, quick and hard, then was striding back into the villa. I heard him barking orders in Italian, heard the driver responding, heard doors slamming and engines starting. And then I was alone on the terrace with the remains of an unfinished lunch and the taste of him still on my lips. The driver, Marco, he'd said, though I realized he meant someone else, appeared at my elbow. Different from this morning, younger, just as armed. Miss, I'll take you home now. The drive back was silent. I stared out the window, watching the villa disappear, and wondered what I'd just done, what I'd promised, what I'd started. At my apartment building, the driver handed me a card, heavy paper, expensive, a phone number embossed in black. Mr. Cavalli said to call if you need anything at all. Then he was gone, and I was standing on the cracked sidewalk in front of my building, holding a business card that felt like it was burning a hole in my palm. Inside, the apartment was still empty. I sat on my bed, pulled out my phone, and did what I should have done yesterday. I Googled Dante Cavalli. The results made my blood run cold. The first article was in Italian, but Google translated it easily enough. Dante Cavalli, heir to the Cavalli crime family, suspected in connection with... I stopped reading. Scrolled down. More articles. More words that made my apartment feel smaller, the walls closing in. Organized crime. Money laundering. The youngest Don in Naples. Dangerous. Ruthless. Untouchable. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I set it down on the thin mattress, stared at the cracked ceiling, and tried to process what I'd just learned. Mafia. The man who'd kissed me, who'd looked at me like I was precious, who'd promised to come back. He was Mafia. I should have been terrified, should have deleted his number, blocked any way he could contact me, maybe even gone to the police. That's what a sensible person would do. Instead, I picked up his card and traced the embossed numbers with my fingertip. I'll keep you, Emma. I'll bind you to me in ways you can't even imagine. Now those words made sense. Now the driver with the gun made sense. The multiple properties, the casual wealth, the aura of danger that clung to him like expensive cologne. All of it made terrible, perfect sense. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart stopped, then started racing. I stared at the screen for 3 rings before answering. Hello? Did you Google me? His voice was dark, amused, knowing. How did you... I have alerts set up. Someone searches my name. I know about it. A pause. So, now you know. I should lie. Should pretend I hadn't seen anything. Instead, I asked, is it true? Which part? Any of it. All of it. Silence stretched between us, heavy with things unsaid. When he finally spoke, his voice had gone careful. Yes. 1 word. 1 syllable. My entire world tilting on its axis. The articles say... My voice cracked. I tried again. They say you're dangerous. I am. They say people who cross you disappear. No apology. They do. They say I couldn't finish. Couldn't voice the rest of what I'd read. Violence. Blood. Power built on fear and money and things I didn't want to imagine. Emma. He said my name like a caress. Are you afraid of me now? Was I? I searched inside myself for terror, for the instinct to run that should have been screaming. Found only a strange, reckless calm. I should be, I whispered. But you're not. I don't know what I am. I stood, paced the small room. This is insane. You're a criminal. I should hang up, but you won't. Certainty in his voice, because you felt it too, didn't you? That kiss, that connection. You felt something shift between us. That doesn't matter. You lied to me. I never lied. His voice sharpened. I told you my business required discretion. I told you I was dangerous. I warned you, Emma, multiple times. He was right. He had warned me. I just hadn't understood what those warnings meant. What do you want from me? I asked finally. Everything. Simple. Direct. Terrifying. I want everything you have to give, and in return, I'll give you everything you've ever wanted. You don't know what I want, don't I? A sound in the background, a door closing, footsteps. You want to matter to someone. You want to be seen, really seen, not just as a server or a roommate or a girl from Ohio who ran away from a life that felt too small. You want passion and intensity and someone who'll fight for you instead of forgetting you exist. Tears burned my eyes because he was right. Horribly, impossibly right. That doesn't change what you are, I said. No, it doesn't. A pause. Are you at the restaurant tomorrow? Yes, I'm on the schedule. Good, I'll see you then. And Emma? Yes? Whatever you decide, whether you run from this or into it, know that I'm not letting you go easily. You're mine now. You have been since the moment you sat down at my table and looked at me like I was just a man instead of a monster. He hung up before I could respond. I didn't sleep again that night, lay awake replaying everything. His touch, his kiss, his voice on the phone saying you're mine now like it was fact instead of threat. Mafia. The word kept echoing in my mind. I'd seen the movies, read the books. I knew what men like him did, knew the violence they were capable of, the lives they destroyed without hesitation, but I also remembered the gentleness of his hands on my face, the way he'd noticed my hurting ankle, the hunger in his eyes that had nothing to do with violence and everything to do with want. Morning came too fast. I dressed for work on autopilot, my body moving while my mind remained stuck in that villa, in that kiss, in the moment before everything changed. The restaurant was already busy when I arrived. Marco took one look at my face and pulled me aside. You saw him yesterday. Not a question. Yes. And? And nothing. We had lunch. He brought me home. Marco's eyes narrowed. That's all? I thought about the kiss, about the phone call, about articles that said he was dangerous and a voice that promised everything. That's all. Madonna, you're a terrible liar. He gripped my shoulders. Emma, listen to me. Men like Dante Cavalli, they don't do normal. They don't do simple. If he's interested in you, there's a reason. And that reason is probably not good for you. Maybe I don't care. Then you're a fool. But his voice was gentle. Just be careful. Please. These men, they live in a different world. A world where people are possessions and loyalty is bought with blood. You don't want to be part of that. Too late, I thought. I was already part of it. Had been since the moment I sat down at his table. The morning dragged. Every time the door opened, my heart jumped. Every dark-haired man made me look twice. But Dante didn't come. Lunch rush started. I moved through it mechanically, refilling water glasses and taking orders and smiling that empty smile. And then, Emma. I turned and there he was, but different, harder. He wore a dark suit today instead of casual black, and there were two men with him, both large, both clearly security. They flanked him like shadows as he moved through the restaurant, and conversations died as he passed. Everyone knew, or sensed it, the danger he carried. He stopped at table 12, of course, and his eyes found mine across the room. Come here. Not a request. A command. I walked to him on shaking legs, aware of every eye in the restaurant watching, Marco's worried gaze burning into my back, the two security guards studying me with expressions that gave nothing away. Sir? I kept my voice professional. Can I get you something? Yes. He leaned back in his chair, completely at ease despite the tension radiating from everyone around him. You can sit down and have lunch with me. I'm working. Marco. He didn't raise his voice, didn't look away from me. Emma is taking her lunch break now, yes? From behind the bar, Marco's strangled, yes, Mr. Cavalli confirmed what I'd suspected. He knew exactly who Dante was, had probably known from the beginning. I sat. You're angry with me. Dante observed. You lied. I didn't. You let me think you were just... I gestured helplessly. Just some tourist. Just some businessman. I am a businessman. His mouth curved slightly. A very successful one. That's not funny. No, it's not. The amusement faded. But it's the truth. I've built an empire, Emma. Not all of it is legal, but all of it is powerful. And I'm offering you a place in it. My breath caught. What? I told you. I want everything you have to give. He leaned forward, his voice dropping to something intimate despite the audience we both knew was listening. I want you beside me, in my home, in my bed, in my life. You're insane. We barely know each other. Time is irrelevant. He reached across the table, took my hand before I could pull away. His thumb traced patterns on my palm that made my pulse spike. I knew the moment I saw you. You belong to me. People don't belong to people. In my world, they do. His grip tightened. And you already know that, don't you? You Googled me. You read the articles. You know exactly what I am and what I'm capable of. Yet here you are, not running, not hiding, sitting across from me and arguing instead of screaming. He was right. Again. I should be terrified, should be finding the nearest exit. Instead, I was leaning forward, drawn by something I didn't understand and couldn't fight. What do you want me to say? I whispered. Say yes. To what? To me. To this. To letting me take care of you instead of watching you work yourself to exhaustion in a job that barely pays rent. His eyes burned into mine. I can give you everything, Emma. Safety, security, a life where you never have to worry about money, or where your next meal comes from, or whether you matter. With me, you'll always matter. You'll be the most important thing in my world. Why? The question tore out of me. Why me? You could have anyone. Because you see me. Simple words. Devastating truth. Not the money or the power or the reputation. You see the man underneath all of it. And that man wants you more than he's wanted anything in 15 years. One of the security guards stepped forward, whispered something in Italian. Dante's expression changed, went cold and hard in a way that made my stomach drop. He stood abruptly. I have to go. Business that can't wait. Of course. I started to pull my hand back, but he held on. Tonight. I'm sending a car for you at 8. Pack a bag. What? No, I can't just... Yes, you can. He raised my hand to his lips, pressed a kiss to my palm that felt like a brand. And you will. Because you're brave and reckless and tired of being invisible. Because you want this as much as I do. Even if you're too scared to admit it yet. Dante. 8 o'clock, Emma. Be ready. Then he was gone, his security flanking him as he strode out. The black Mercedes was waiting, door already open. He slid inside without looking back, and I was left standing in the middle of the restaurant with my palm still burning from his kiss. Marco appeared at my elbow. What did he say to you? He's sending a car, tonight, and you're going to go. Not a question. I looked at him. This man who'd given me a job when I was desperate, who'd been kind when he didn't have to be, who was looking at me now with something like grief in his eyes. Yes, I whispered, I'm going to go. The apartment was chaos when I got home at 3. Sophia sat on the couch painting her nails, while Marie and Kiki argued in rapid-fire French and English about whose turn it was to clean the bathroom. They all stopped when they saw my face. What happened? Kiki asked, her Australian accent thick with concern. You look like you've seen a ghost. I set my bag down carefully, my hands still trembling. I need to pack. Pack? Sophia's eyes widened. Are you leaving? Going back to America? No, How did I explain this? How did I put into words what I barely understood myself? I'm going to stay with someone, for a while. Someone. Marie's tone turned knowing. A man. Yes. The one from the restaurant. Kiki leaned forward. The hot one with the Mercedes? Emma, you dark horse. It's not like that. Except it was exactly like that. Worse than that. It's complicated. Complicated how? Sophia had abandoned her nails, was watching me with sharp eyes. Emma, you've been here 3 months and you've barely spoken to anyone. Now suddenly you're moving in with some guy we've never met? I'm not moving in, I'm just... What was I doing? Visiting. with a packed bag. Marie's expression turned serious. This is not safe. You don't know this man. I know enough. Do you? Sophia stood, crossed to me. Because from where I'm standing, this looks like every true crime documentary I've ever watched. Beautiful stranger, expensive car, sweeps you off your feet. Stop. I held up a hand. I appreciate the concern, I do, but this is my choice, my decision. A decision based on what? A few lunches? Some pretty words? Kiki's voice had lost its usual lightness. Emma, we care about you. We don't want to see you get hurt. Hurt. The word echoed in my mind. Dante could hurt me in ways these women couldn't imagine, could destroy me completely if he chose. But he could also make me feel alive in ways I'd never experienced. I'll be careful, I said finally. Will you? Marie asked softly. Or are you already in too deep? I didn't answer. Couldn't answer. Because she was right. I packed slowly, methodically. A few dresses, toiletries, the small collection of books I'd brought from home. Everything I owned fit into one battered suitcase, a depressing reminder of how little I'd accumulated in 23 years of life. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. The car will arrive at 8. Dress nicely. We have dinner plans. Dinner plans. Like this was normal. Like I was normal. Like we were a normal couple doing normal things. I pulled out the only nice dress I owned. Black, simple, bought from a thrift store before I left Ohio. It would have to do. At 7:45, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror applying mascara with shaking hands. Behind me, I could see the reflection of my 3 roommates sitting on the couch, watching me with identical expressions of worry. At least text us, Sophia said finally. Let us know you're okay. I will. And if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you call us, or the police, or both. Kiki's jaw was set. Promise. I promise. At precisely 8 o'clock, a knock sounded on the door. I opened it to find a different driver than yesterday. Older, with silver at his temples and eyes that had seen too much. He gave a slight bow. Miss Emma, I'm Giorgio. Mr. Cavalli sent me to collect you. Collect me. The phrase made me sound like luggage. Giorgio's mouth twitched. To escort you, if you prefer. May I take your bag? I handed it over, ignored my roommate's whispered protests, and followed him down 3 flights of stairs to where a different Mercedes waited, this one even more luxurious than yesterday's, all gleaming black paint and tinted windows. The interior smelled of leather and something else. Danger, maybe. Or destiny. Where are we going? I asked, as Giorgio pulled smoothly into traffic. Mr. Cavalli's home. He's waiting for you there. Home. Not the villa from yesterday, I suspected. Somewhere else. Somewhere more permanent. The drive took 40 minutes, winding through increasingly exclusive neighborhoods, until we reached a gated estate that made the villa look modest. High walls, security cameras, armed guards at the entrance who waved us through after Giorgio showed credentials. The house, calling it a house felt inadequate, rose before us. 3 stories of white stone and glass, lit from within like a jewel box. A fountain dominated the circular drive, water catching the last rays of sunset. Giorgio opened my door. Mr. Cavalli is in the main salon. I'll show you. Inside was even more impressive. Marble floors, soaring ceilings, art that probably cost more than I'd earn in a lifetime. My canvas shoes squeaked on the polished stone, and I became acutely aware of how out of place I was. Dante stood by floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the sea, his back to me. He'd changed. Dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, exposing those forearms that had haunted my dreams. A crystal tumbler of amber liquid sat on the table beside him. Thank you, Giorgio. He didn't turn. That will be all. The door clicked shut behind me, and suddenly we were alone. You came, he said softly. Did you think I wouldn't? I hoped you wouldn't. Finally he turned, and the expression on his face stole my breath. Raw hunger mixed with something gentler. Relief, maybe. For your sake, I hoped you'd be smart enough to run. I'm not smart. I set my purse down carefully, apparently. No. He moved toward me with that predator's grace. You're brave. Stupidly, recklessly brave. It's going to get you hurt. By you? Never by me. He stopped inches away, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from his body. I'd burn the world down before I let anyone hurt you, including myself. Pretty words. Truth. His hand came up, cupped my face. I don't say things I don't mean, Emma. When I tell you that you're mine, when I promise to protect you, those aren't empty promises, they're vows. You barely know me. I know you work yourself to exhaustion for minimum wage and smile like it doesn't kill you inside. I know you left everything familiar because staying felt like dying slowly. I know you've been invisible so long you've forgotten what it's like to be seen. His thumb traced my cheekbone. I know that when I kiss you, you taste like coming home. Tears burned my eyes. Stop. Why? Because you're making this harder, making me want things I shouldn't want, making me forget that you're dangerous. I am dangerous. He said it fiercely. I'm the most dangerous thing you'll ever encounter. But not to you. Never to you. For you, I'm safety. I'm sanctuary. I'm the one person in this world who will never let you fall. How can you promise that? You deal in violence? Yes, I do. I've killed men, Emma. I've ordered deaths and destroyed lives and built my empire on blood and fear. His grip tightened. But with you, I'm just a man who wants, who needs, who'll do anything to keep you safe and happy and mine. This is insane. Yes. He pressed his forehead to mine. Completely insane, and I don't care. Do you? Did I? Standing there in his arms, feeling the tremor that ran through him, seeing the vulnerability beneath all that power. Did I care that this was crazy? No, I whispered. I don't care. He kissed me then, and it was different from yesterday. Slower. Deeper. Less about claiming, and more about savoring. His hand slid into my hair, angled my head, and I melted into him like I'd been waiting my whole life for this moment. When we broke apart, we were both breathing hard. Dinner, he said roughly. I promised you dinner. I'm not hungry. My hands fisted in his shirt, not for food. Something dark and possessive flashed across his face. Emma, I want you. The admission felt both terrifying and liberating. I've wanted you since the moment I saw you. And I'm tired of pretending otherwise. Christo. His hands tightened on my waist. You can't say things like that. Not when I'm barely holding on. Then don't hold on. I pulled him closer. Let go. For a long moment, he just stared at me. Then he swept me into his arms, literally lifted me like I weighed nothing, and carried me toward a sweeping staircase. Where? My bedroom. His voice was rough. Where you'll sleep tonight, and every night after. Dante, no more arguments, Emma. No more protests. You're mine now, and I'm keeping you. He carried me up the stairs, down a hallway lined with art I didn't look at, through double doors into a room that took my breath away. Massive bed. More windows overlooking the sea, moonlight spilling across dark sheets. He set me down gently, and his hands framed my face. Last chance, he said softly. Last chance to run. After this, there's no going back. I won't let you go. Ever. Do you understand? I understood I was standing at a crossroads. One path led back to safety, to invisibility, to a life half-lived. The other led into darkness and danger, and a man who looked at me like I was his salvation. I understand, I whispered. And? I reached for him. And I choose you. He kissed me like a man dying of thirst, and I was water. His hands were everywhere. My face, my hair, my waist. But always gentle, always careful, like I was something precious he was afraid to break. Emma. My name was a prayer on his lips. Tell me to stop. Tell me this is too fast. Don't stop. I pulled him closer, needing the solid warmth of him, needing proof that this was real. Please don't stop. So he didn't. The night blurred into sensation. His mouth on my skin, his hands learning every curve, whispered words in Italian that I didn't understand but felt in my bones. He worshipped me with a reverence that made tears slide down my temples. And when we finally came together, it felt less like surrender and more like coming home. Afterward, he held me close, my head on his chest, his heartbeat steady beneath my ear. No regrets? He asked softly. No. And it was true. Despite everything, the danger, the insanity, the fact that I'd known him for 3 days, I had no regrets. You? Never. His arms tightened. You're mine now, completely, and I protect what's mine. I should have asked what that meant, should have questioned the possessiveness in his voice. Instead, I fell asleep feeling safer than I had in years. Morning came with sunlight streaming through those massive windows and the smell of coffee. I opened my eyes to find Dante already dressed, sitting in an armchair near the bed, watching me with an intensity that should have been unsettling. "Good morning," I said, suddenly shy. "Good morning, Kara." He stood, moved to the bed, pressed a kiss to my forehead. "How do you feel?" Like my life just changed completely. It did. No apology in his tone. "Your things have been moved to the closet. Giorgio brought them up while you slept." I sat up, clutching the sheet. "Dante, I can't just move in." "You already have." He handed me a cup of coffee, perfect temperature, splash of cream just how I liked it. How did he know? "And before you argue, understand that this is not negotiable. You're not going back to that apartment. You're not working at that restaurant. You're staying here with me, where I can keep you safe." "Safe from what?" His expression darkened. "From a world you don't understand yet." "Emma, my life, my business, it comes with enemies. People who would hurt you to get to me. Now that you're mine, you're a target." Fear prickled down my spine. "Maybe I should leave then. Go back to America." "No." The word cracked like a whip. "You're not leaving. I won't allow it. You can't just—" "I can. I will." He sat on the edge of the bed, gripped my shoulders. "Listen to me. Yesterday, after I left the restaurant, I had my people do a full background check on you. I know about your mother, about the debt, about why you really left Ohio, and I know that you have nothing to go back to. No family who cares, no home waiting, nothing." Shame burned through me. "You had no right. I had every right. You became mine the moment you sat at my table. And I protect what's mine by knowing everything about it." His voice softened. "I'm not judging you, Kara. I'm offering you something better. A life here, with me, safety, security. A chance to be more than invisible." "As what? Your mistress? As mine." He cut me off. "Whatever label you want to put on it doesn't matter. What matters is that you're under my protection now. No one will hurt you. No one will dismiss you or ignore you or make you feel less than. And in return, all I ask is that you stay, that you let me take care of you." It should have felt like a cage, should have felt like I was trading one trap for another. Instead, it felt like freedom. "For how long?" I whispered. "Forever." Simple, direct, terrifying. "I told you, Emma, I don't let go of what's mine." 3 weeks passed in a blur of luxury and learning. Dante was gone during the days. Business, he said, and I didn't ask for details, but the nights were ours. He took me to private dinners at restaurants that didn't have prices on the menu, bought me clothes that cost more than my former rent, introduced me to a world of wealth and power that felt both intoxicating and dangerous. But there were rules. Always rules. Don't leave the estate without Giorgio or another guard. Don't speak to strangers. Don't ask about his business. Don't. The cage was gilded, but it was still a cage. "I need to do something," I told him one night over dinner on the terrace. "I can't just exist." "What do you want to do?" "I don't know. Work? Study? Something that's mine." He studied me for a long moment. "You want independence. I want purpose. Then you'll have it." He reached across the table, took my hand. "I'll set up accounts for you. You can pursue whatever interests you. Take classes, start a business. Whatever you want. With your money. With our money." His thumb traced circles on my palm. "What's mine is yours, Emma. All of it." But it wasn't. Not really. Because I was the one who couldn't leave without permission. I was the one who had guards shadow my every move. I was the one living in a beautiful prison. The explosion happened on a Thursday. I was in the garden, the one place I was allowed without constant supervision, reading a book when I heard it, a thunderous boom that shook the ground, followed by alarms and shouting. Giorgio appeared within seconds, his gun drawn. "Inside. Now, what's happening? Now!" He grabbed my arm, hauled me toward the house. Behind us, smoke rose from somewhere near the front gate. Inside was chaos. Men in suits with weapons, rapid-fire Italian I couldn't follow, Dante's voice cutting through it all with cold authority. He appeared in the doorway, and the relief on his face when he saw me was visceral. "Cristo. You're okay. What happened?" "Car bomb. At the gate." He crossed to me, ran his hands over me like checking for injuries. "You're sure you're okay? You weren't hurt?" "I'm fine." "But Dante, what—" "Rivals." His jaw tightened. "Sending a message." "What kind of message?" "The kind that says they know about you." He pulled me close, and I felt the tremor that ran through him. "The kind that means we need to be more careful." "More careful. More guards. More rules. More cage." "This is because of me," I whispered. "No. This is because of my world. A world I knew you'd become part of when I claimed you." He tilted my face up. "But I meant what I said, Emma. I protect what's mine. And no one will touch you." That night, he made love to me with a desperation that bordered on violence, like he was trying to prove through touch that I was his, that I was safe, that nothing could take me from him. And in the aftermath, as I lay in his arms, I finally understood the weight of what I'd accepted. This wasn't a fairy tale. This wasn't some romance where love conquered all. This was real, dangerous and dark and complicated. But it was also mine. 2 days after the bombing, everything changed. I was in Dante's office, a room I normally avoided, looking for a book when I saw the folder. It was sitting on his desk, partially open, and I wouldn't have noticed except for one word on the top page, Ohio. My hands shook as I opened it fully. And there, in black and white, was everything. Not just a background check, a file. Photos of me from before I left, coming out of my apartment, at my old job, with people I'd tried to forget. Dates, times, a detailed record of my last 6 months in America, and notes in the margin, in Dante's handwriting, vulnerable, isolated, perfect. The world tilted. "Emma?" His voice came from the doorway, and when I turned, his face was carefully blank. "You weren't supposed to see that. Perfect?" My voice broke on the word. I was perfect? This was... what? Some kind of plan? "It's not what you think. Then what is it?" I threw the folder at him, pages scattered. "Tell me, was any of it real? Or was I just some target you decided to acquire?" "Don't." He moved toward me and I backed away. "Don't do that. Don't diminish what we have." "What we have?" Hysterical laughter bubbled up. "We have nothing. This was all calculated. You saw a desperate girl and decided to collect her like some kind of trophy. That's not true. Then explain." I was shouting now, tears streaming down my face. "Explain why you have photos of me from before we met. Explain why you have notes about how vulnerable I was. Explain any of this." He ran a hand through his hair, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked uncertain. "I was in Santorini on business. Real business. A meeting with suppliers. And I saw you at the restaurant. Just saw you. The way you moved. The way you smiled that empty smile. The way you were invisible even when you were standing right there. And I recognized it." "Recognized what?" "Loneliness." His voice went rough. "The kind that eats you from the inside. I've been alone my entire life, Emma, surrounded by people but utterly alone. And I saw that same loneliness in you. So yes, I had you investigated. I wanted to know if what I saw was real, or if I was projecting. And when the report came back, when I learned about your mother and the debt, and how alone you really were, you decided I was perfect," bitterness coated the words. "Perfect victim. Perfect match." He closed the distance between us before I could retreat. "You were perfect for me, because you understood what it meant to be unseen. Because you were strong enough to survive, but soft enough to still hope. Because when I looked at you, I saw possibility. Possibility of what? Of not being alone anymore." His hands came up, framed my face. "Yes, I planned our meeting. Yes, I orchestrated things to ensure we'd interact. But everything after? Every word, every touch, every moment, that was real, Emma. The way I feel about you is real. How can I believe that? Tears continued to fall. How can I trust anything you say when it all started with a lie? Because I'm standing here telling you the truth now. His thumbs wiped away my tears. Because I'm not making excuses or trying to manipulate you. I'm being honest. Probably more honest than I've been with anyone in my life. I saw you, and I wanted you, and I made it happen. That's what I do. That's who I am. But that doesn't make this, us, any less real. I wanted to believe him. God, I wanted to believe him so badly. But the folder on the floor, those notes in the margin, the proof of his calculation, it all felt like poison. I need time, I said finally. I need to think. No. His grip tightened. I'm not letting you walk away from this. From us. You don't get to decide. The hell I don't. His voice turned dangerous. You're mine, Emma. Mine. And I don't care if you're angry or hurt or feeling betrayed. You're not leaving. So what? I'm your prisoner now? If that's what it takes. No apology. No softening. I told you from the beginning. I protect what's mine. And I don't let go. Not now. Not ever. We stared at each other, and I saw the truth in his eyes. He meant it. Every word. He would keep me here by force if necessary. Would cage me completely rather than let me go. The thought should have terrified me. Instead, through the hurt and betrayal and anger, I felt something else. Something dark and reckless that whispered, maybe this was exactly what I'd been searching for. Someone who wouldn't let me disappear. Someone who would fight to keep me, even if the fight was against my own fear. I hate you, I whispered. No, you don't. He pulled me close, and I didn't resist. You hate that I saw through you. You hate that I planned and calculated and made sure we'd meet. But you don't hate me, because I'm the first person in your life who's ever fought for you. He was right. And I hated him for that too. What happens now? I asked against his chest. Now? His arms tightened. Now you stay angry for a while. You make me work for forgiveness. You test me to see if I really mean what I say about never letting you go. And eventually, when you're ready, you accept that what we have is messy and complicated and started with calculation, but became something real. You're very sure of yourself. I'm sure of us. He tilted my face up, and the intensity in his eyes stole my breath. I'm sure that what I feel for you is real. I'm sure that I'd burn my entire empire to the ground before I'd let anyone hurt you. I'm sure that spending the rest of my life proving to you that you matter, that you're seen and wanted and loved, is exactly what I'm meant to do. Loved? The word caught in my throat. Yes. No hesitation. I love you, Emma. Probably loved you from the moment you sat at my table and looked at me like I was just a man. And I'll spend every day proving it. I should have pushed him away, should have demanded he let me go. Should have run back to my small life, where the worst that could happen was invisibility. Instead, I kissed him. Because maybe love that started with calculation could become something real. Maybe a cage made of protection and possessiveness could still be freedom. Maybe being seen, really, truly seen, was worth the danger that came with it. I'm still angry, I murmured against his lips. I know. And I don't forgive you. I know. But I'm not leaving. I know that too. He deepened the kiss, and I felt his smile. Because you're mine, and I'm yours. And that's all that matters. 6 months later, I stood in the garden watching sunset paint the sky in shades of fire. The estate had become home. The guards had become familiar faces. The life I'd once found suffocating had become the air I breathed. Dante's arms came around me from behind, and I leaned back into his warmth. Happy? He asked. Was I? I thought about the classes I was taking online, the small charity I'd started helping local women, the life I was building within the boundaries of his protection. I thought about the nights in his arms, the mornings waking to his face, the feeling of being cherished and protected and utterly, completely seen. Yes, I said, and meant it. I'm happy. Good. He pressed a kiss to my temple. Because I have something for you. He handed me a small velvet box, and my heart stuttered. Dante, open it. Inside was a ring, not an engagement ring, something else. A band of white gold with words engraved inside. Mia per sempre, mine forever. It's a promise, he said softly, that you'll always be seen, always protected, always loved, that you'll never be invisible again, that what we have, this messy, complicated, beautiful thing, will last forever. I slipped the ring on, felt its weight settle like an anchor, like a promise, like home. Forever, I echoed. And in his arms, in the garden of our gilded cage, I finally understood that sometimes freedom isn't about escaping. Sometimes it's about finding someone who sees you so completely, who holds you so carefully, who loves you so fiercely that their protection becomes your wings instead of your chains. I'd come to Santorini looking for something more, and I'd found it in the most unexpected place, in the arms of a dangerous man who'd seen me when I was invisible, who'd chosen me when I felt worthless, who'd loved me when I'd forgotten how to love myself. I love you, I whispered. I know, he said. I've known since the beginning, since the moment you looked at me and leaned in instead of running away. Since you chose danger over safety and me over everyone else. I've always known. And maybe that was the truth of it. Maybe he had always known. Maybe from the very start, this had been inevitable. Two lonely people finding each other across a crowded terrace, recognizing in each other the possibility of being whole. The sun set over the Mediterranean, painting everything in gold, and I stood in the arms of the man who'd claimed me, kept me, loved me, and for the first time in my life, I was truly, completely